Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning if you happen to be somewhere else in the world. My name's Sue York, and I'm here to talk about the impact of AI on research skills and training. My job is at the Research Society. I'm the head of training and development, and my job is to really think about the skills and training that researchers need to prepare themselves for the future and to thrive in that future. So obviously over the last couple of years, I've been thinking a lot about the impact of AI and what it means for what people should be learning today and also what they should be learning into the future. Currently in my mind, I'm thinking about the skills and training that people need with respect to AI as kind of having three strands. The first of these is learning how to work with AI. The second is how you might use AI as a coach or a learning tool. And the third one, and the one I probably think of as the big one, is what I call research thinking, and we'll explore a little bit more as we go forward into what I actually mean by research thinking. But let's start by diving into thinking about how you work with AI at the moment and how you should be learning to work with AI. So again, this kind of has three components at the moment: using generative AI, using AI tools, and integrating AI into your work. So to explore those a little, using generative AI. Now, all of you will remember when ChatGPT burst onto the scene, and interest in generative AI and large language models doesn't seem to be going anywhere. If you haven't already, you really should be thinking about developing platform-specific usage skills for the standard LLMs. And so by that, if you're not using ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, some of them, any of them, you really need to be starting to use those platforms. Now, as well as being able to use those platforms there are transferable skills that you can use across a range of platforms. And in many ways, developing transferable skills is more important than learning platform-specific skills. One of the most obvious transferable skills is prompt engineering. Now, you may do specific things in individual platforms, but learning how to craft better prompts, more effective prompts, will stand you in good stead across a wide range of platforms, whether it's some of the ones I've mentioned above. You may even find at your company you have an internal LLM. In many ways, being better at prompting in one platform will help you be better at prompting in a wide range of platforms. You'll start to understand the sorts of things that work, the sorts of things that help you do better research. Whether that's, instructing the LLM to dig into context, understanding how you can be really clear about what you mean, how you can direct the activity that you're trying to achieve so that you reach your outcomes more effectively. All of those skills are going to be really transferable and probably a very important skill going forward. And then don't forget to develop and deepen your expertise. Become a power user. There is a big difference between what a novice can get out of an LLM and what somebody who really understands how to, make these tools work for us can achieve. Then there's also, progressions of these. Perhaps you want to get into developing custom GPT. Do you want to make use of APIs? So don't stop by just being a really standard user. Make sure you're really honing those skills and also deepening and developing your expertise. Using AI tools, similar, but a little bit different. Many of you will find or have noticed that many of your existing software packages and platforms have been, incorporating AI tools over the last couple of years. Make sure you're on top of what those tools are, how you can use them, are they suitable for you and your business? Obviously, most of the platforms, will keep adding these things quite regularly. So keep having a look, see how you might be able to use these tools to do better research or even be more productive. Beyond that, there's also, new ways of doing research and new ways of operating research businesses that are emerging. Things like conversational surveys have been around for years, but they're likely to become more widespread. Is this something that, you know how to work with? And then a wide range of other tools that you could be using, some examples of things like virtual eye tracking, Link AI, Are these things that you could be using effectively in your research practice? Integrating AI. Now this is, I think, is possibly going to be one of the flavors of 2025. For the last couple of years, many of us have been experimenting, exploring, kind of having fun with AI, but now it's really time to make AI work for us. How are you including AI into your workflows and your business? A really common example is many of you in this session will be using Office 365. Office 365 and Copilot integrate quite seamlessly. Have you been looking at how you might bring those two together to work more effectively? Creating libraries and knowledge hubs. That's another thing that many of us have been using for quite some time, but sometimes you need to step back and take a bit of time to create those libraries, and often researchers are busy and just don't have that time. But if you find yourself, going to a questionnaire you created previously to pull in the demographics for, or if you notice that different people around your business are using, different forms of questions, you really should have libraries that are great at standardizing what you do, but also, more importantly, help you save time. And also you can use these to, filter expertise through the business. Senior people will know why you ask questions in a certain way, why you do this. So give the rest of the business the knowledge of that expertise by putting this expertise into libraries and knowledge hubs that can be used. And don't forget about automating routine tasks. Quite often you might find yourself, you do the same thing every time you open a PowerPoint file, or you do the same thing every time you do something else. As far as possible, if you can automate those tasks, AI will be starting to work for you, and it's a great way of integrating AI into the work that you do and making your life a little bit easier. So, thinking about things a bit differently, one of the great things about generative AI is you've got a really flexible tool that you can apply across a wide range of situations. Now, you can use AI as a coach or a learning tool. I think in the not too distant future, we'll see that many learning platforms incorporate AI into how they work. For those of you who outside the research space might use something like a Duolingo, you'll see that, products like that are using AI to, help tailor learning journeys and help you diagnose what you need to learn and push you forward. But as a really simple and low-cost way of accessing something like this at the moment, you can actually ask ChatGPT to give you advice about research methods. And again, if you've paid attention earlier and have become a great prompter, that will help you design these better. But you could certainly use this really effectively to ask about a specific research method. In this example that Ray had written about in January this month, he was using it to help teach him Kano analysis. You could certainly use it as a way of learning more about that. Going forward, I can see us having AI as a coach, and you might even be able to tell the AI what sort of coach works well for you. If you find you respond to tough love or a super supportive coach, you could probably wrap that personality around it to work better for you. And there's also a video there of how you can set up a ChatGPT to help you learn a specific task. And finally, I wanted to touch on research thinking, which in some ways I was saying is kind of what I'm thinking of as the big thing. When I started to think about what makes much research training good training, it's often not about actually learning a specific thing. It's that background thinking that helps you do research better. Research thinking has three components. The first of these is understanding the craft of research. And I do mean understanding. And by that, I mean understanding why we do things in research, not just knowing what to do, but why something is done. Some of you will have learnt about the craft of research at university. Some of you will have learnt about it in training courses, and some of you will have learnt about it on the job, and many of you in all three ways. The craft of research, it encompasses so many things that we do when we're conducting a research project, and in many ways, it's understanding the craft of research that we think most about when we're designing research projects, writing proposals. Understanding the craft of research helps guide those trade-offs that you might make when you're deciding on how to design research. It encompasses many, many things. When you think about a research problem, you'll start to think about whether you should use qualitative or quantitative methodologies to conduct the project. That's a really great example of understanding the craft of research. When you design a questionnaire and think about how to ask individual questions, how to pull the whole questionnaire together, how the flow should work, what sort of things you can explore in a questionnaire. That's all part of understanding the craft of research. Sense making builds on craft in many ways, but I think of sense making as encompassing things like critical thinking, the ability to synthesize information from different sources and make sense of what is happening. Stress testing findings are also part of sense making. And another important part of sense making is understanding the broader context of the business and the organisation you're working for, and where the research problem that you're investigating fits, and where your research finding fits within that. And it's all of these elements that come together to encompass research thinking. So why I think research thinking gives researchers a certain power, it's a good way of summarising, if you like, all of the skills that researchers bring to research problems. It encapsulates, the depth of experience you build up over the years. The reason that you know how to design and conduct great research projects is because you have a set of research thinking skills, and they're a really broad and powerful set of skills if used appropriately. And it's our understanding of research that will help us use AI tools really effectively to conduct great research. So at the moment, having research thinking skills will mean you can do things that other people can't do, and it will also mean that you can do things that AI can't do. At the moment anyway. So thank you for listening to my presentation, and I look forward to any questions you might have. And my email address is on the screen there if you'd like to reach out to me to talk about research thinking going forward. But thanks very much for listening, and I look forward to your questions.
Thanks, Sue. And let's see what questions we get coming up in the hopper. And then after that, there are one or two questions from really early on, which we might take as well. And in fact, while we're waiting for someone to type that in, I am going to take one of those questions from earlier on in the session. Are we seeing any interesting ways of delivering data? And certainly one that I've noticed is I've seen some people start to use custom GPTs. They take the analysis and the output, they create a custom GPT, and then the client can access and ask questions of that. It's, I think, a little bit primitive compared with where we'll be very soon, because both of you have to have GPT licenses, it has to be set up and so on. But I could imagine that technology being used to create Q&A tools on deliverables as something that's going to come along very quickly. And if we think about a multi-language study, being able to ask those questions in any language from any place in the world would be quite interesting. We also had a question earlier about ISOs, and in terms of artificial intelligence, you normally have a technology needs to go stable for a few years, and then the ISO committees start to meet and they draw things up. I think we are 5 or 6 years away at least from an ISO for artificial intelligence in market research. Somebody referred to one in cybersecurity, and one can see why that's a bit quicker. But there are moves by the Research Society, by SMR, by the Insights Association to provide guidance on good quality. And we haven't got any questions yet, so I'm going to give it 1 minute longer, and then we will move into wrap-up mode, unless there are really any questions on anything you have seen today across the different sessions. I know that we've run slightly long, and that's because we had so many wonderful questions. Yes, I did notice that the people joining us from California were joining us from yesterday, and it's quite late at night now. So fantastic for you to stay up and join us.